Fuck what you heard. It's what you hearing. It's what you hearing. Listen. It's what you hearing. Listen. It's what you hearing. Listen. X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Knock, knock.
With your hosts, Chris Carson and DC and Shama.
Welcome to Space Action Podcast, an extension of Space Action Heroes, a webcomic you can find at spaceactionheroes.com. I'm DC and Shama.
Chris Carson.
This week we are diving into the follow-up of the... When was it? The first one?
2016.
16 smash runaway hit, Deadpool.
The Deadpool, highest rated R-rated, or highest grossing R-rated movie worldwide.
Kicked the door open for Logan.
For the Logan. Logan would not exist without Deadpool.
Which was, referenced quite a bit.
Quite a bit. The movie, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, well, maybe it is. We're just going to say spoilers right off, because this is coming out a little later, so...
Yeah.
If you've seen it, if you want to see it, you've seen it. And if you're going to be listening to a podcast, you've probably seen it. But, it opens with giant Logan Hugh Jackman impaled on a stick joke.
What song did they use? My memory's foggy now. I really should have looked this up.
Did they use an actual song?
Yeah,
or was it score? Because I want to get into that, too, the score.
I gotta look it up for a bit.
Okay, well, I guess just to get into it, I'm going to openly say I wasn't a huge fan of Deadpool 2.
You hear that?
I really like Deadpool
that?
1.
It's the sound of everyone screaming at you.
But, Deadpool 1, I don't know, Deadpool 1, love it or hate it, you have to acknowledge that it was a small group of people with a vision fighting for years to get something made that was true to the character. There was clearly, intent behind it. They'd been working on the script for how many years until they leaked the test footage in order to just get some support. Fox didn't believe in them at all. So they just were hands off. They were there, go make your fucking movie. We'll figure out how to market it.
Yeah.
And then they had a huge hit. And this one, it feels like what it was. A studio muscled out the original director, brought in the John Wick guy, who's very competent. He knows how to set up a far shot, a medium shot, close up reversals.
Cool choreography too. Some of the fight scenes, I was like, well, okay, that's why you get the John Wick guy.
Yeah. But overall, it felt like a guy who's brought in how many months into production, who could competently set up the shots and move on to the next shot.
And also, and this was my biggest problem with it, because I watched the first one right before the second one, and I think what I love so much about the first one is it's just like an R-rated comedy of the 90s.
It was very much it was like an R-rated Austin Powers, very juvenile humor,
or Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy,
right.
or a lot of Die Hard. It reminds me, Die Hard's almost like a comedy. It's so fucking great. So the idea that in the first one it's just this revenge mission.
Yeah,
you're so invested.
Trying to get Francis.
Yeah, I can see why they would want to get the John Wick dude for this sequel, because there's something very gratifying about a guy who's really good at killing people, just killing bad people. Mm-hmm. That movie is just start, go. Mm-hmm. The objective is to kill this dude. Once we shoot that dude in the face, the credits roll.
That's it. It's over.
It's so satisfying, and it makes sense for that character. He's the perfect superhero for that story. I'm not a hero. I'm going to murder a bunch of people to get there.
Yeah.
So now we come to Deadpool 2, and all of a sudden, you're putting him in situations that aren't really necessarily for that character. I don't think they made a ton of sense.
That was a huge problem I had, yeah.
And the worst part about it is that they were all kind of just lifted from other pre-existing superhero movies.
Yeah.
Which the first movie was adamantly fuck that. We're not a superhero movie.
This one felt like a studio wanting to make a franchise.
Yep.
And it wasn't cut. That's the problem that I had with the John Wick guy, is that, has he done comedy? Because the movie was not cut for comedy.
Oh, God,
at
no.
all.
No.
It was comedy is played out best in far shots. This movie was 90% close-ups, as if it was an actual... It felt like Thor The Dark World, in that, it was cut to move the action forward, but never was cut for comedy. And I think that was really... the scene that really drove that home for me was the cameo of the original X-Men.
Yes.
Where it was literally Ryan Reynolds green screen keyed in front of just a shot they probably got because they were shooting Dark Phoenix across the lot.
Right.
And it's it just wasn't cut for comedy at all. Just there they are, close the door, move on to the next scene.
It was so subliminal. I realized what was happening in that joke 2 seconds into it, which in movie time is not a lot of time, because I saw McAvoy and I was like, oh shit, who else is in this shot? And it was gone.
It was competently directed. It was a guy who clearly didn't have a vision, who came in and knew how to get the shots.
Yeah, they were just what was the last movie that had a guy in it that wants to just kill a bunch of dudes that was shot. Kind of cool,
Right,
that
right.
we can make a
Let's
superhero.
get John Wick.
Exactly,
Yeah.
get the John Wick guy, and they even make that joke in the
guy who
post
killed
sequence.
John Wick's dog.
Exactly,
And
and
didn't he co-direct John Wick too?
possibly because he's a stunt guy, if I remember correctly, and like she just went on. What's his name? David Leitch. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It definitely felt like a little bit of a fish out of water.
In terms of his like attachment to this material,
Yeah.
like he didn't really know. He knew how to make an action movie, but didn't really know what to do beyond that.
Because the one that really drove me nuts is that this movie. I'm being subtle. It's straight up said in the narration. It's supposed to be a family movie. This one,
Right.
First one's about him finding true love. This one's supposed to be about him starting a family.
Which is always the basic go-to for these movies. It's about family.
It's a team. They're a family. Get it? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The Incredibles did it way better, like over a decade ago.
Remember Last Jedi? All the Carrie Fisher. It's about family.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck.
But this one, Deadpool's not a parent figure.
No.
I don't understand why you're trying to saddle him with the role of being a dad to this crew. It doesn't suit him.
Well, the second that he was hanging out on the couch with his girlfriend watching TV in his Deadpool makeup, and I was like, what is happening? Why is he just Ryan Reynolds now? Why is he just a dude with a girlfriend?
Are we that bereft of ideas?
Yeah, like isn't he supposed to be like so beyond psychotic that he? Like,
it's kind of. I don't think you can go around the world murdering folks and dismembering them and then
they get
come
home
back
and
and
watch
watch
The Bachelor.
Netflix.
Yeah.
You know, like
it was odd.
They just try to make him into this domestic grassroots superhero, this poor guy. But I'm like, I don't know. That to me kind of took away the kind of what I loved about that character.
It felt like a PG-13 interpretation of Deadpool, with swear words peppered in.
And weird flex of racism, like weird odd, not racism, like where they're like
pointing out that
the ethnic. I was just like that was gratuitous and unnecessary, but hey, whatever.
I guess it's maybe that's for like the 15-year-olds going like, oh, see the commentary, the social commentary. And you're like, not really, but okay.
Let me say this much though, and I can ask you this because we're both diehard '90s X-Men cartoon fans. There were a couple moments as an X-Men nerd that made me go, oh, come on. Like him in Professor X's chair, which we saw in the trailers.
Around,
the quick cameo, it was awkwardly handled, but I still enjoyed it for what it was.
And it wasn't he should be hanging out with the original X-Men, the James Marsden and the Famke Jensen.
You think that any of them would come back
at
this point?
Because they just went on, they were like, hey, you guys are shooting Dark Phoenix. Can we get one shot? Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah. And he's going to show up in Dark Phoenix.
Maybe, who knows? He's like the stepchild, the redheaded stepchild of all these movies. So.
The other one that killed me was Juggernaut. Man, they kept that so goddamn secret.
Really, like
I didn't hear anything about it.
I didn't hear anything about it either. But I knew there was a villain in the movie, like a big villain. And as soon as the big guy, he was like, "Oh, the big guy," I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be Juggernaut, isn't it?"
Really?
And then as soon as he popped up, I was like, "Yep, Juggernaut." Just like how
the funny thing is that. This is going to sound like sacrilege to a bunch of nerds, myself included. But because of, there's a similar setup in Arkham Asylum, the first video game, and it's Killer Croc. And I kept thinking, like, there's no way they're going to put Killer Croc in a Deadpool movie. Like, they like to cross the streams, but not that much.
Right.
And I guess now that you say it out loud, who else is it going to be? It's going to be
giant
the
guy.
fucking Juggernaut.
Oh, it's going to be Juggernaut.
Yeah, okay, I'm not that bright.
Well, I think because there's only, I think I was a little tipped off to it because I thought it was going to be Magneto, because I just heard that a big X-Men villain showed up. I was like, oh, I wonder if Magneto's going to fly in at one point. And then as soon as it was the big guy, I was like, well, that's the only big, both literally and figuratively, villain I can think of.
Okay.
And then he popped out, and I was like, yeah. That was kind of neat that he actually referenced to being Xavier's brother.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah. And I love the fact that... So, now we're getting really fucked up with these timelines, because they've established that... it's not Vinnie Jones anymore.
No.
Thank Christ.
It's a CGI guy.
It's a big CGI guy, and he actually is his brother now.
Yeah.
So they don't give a fuck.
That's what I kind of like about the X-Men universe, that it's now almost 20 years of like, whatever the story calls for, we're going to do. I'm like, I kind of appreciate that.
Trask has been two different people. At one point he was black, and at another point he was a little guy.
A little guy, yeah.
So we don't really care anymore.
Yeah. Maybe one was an adopted brother. I don't know which one,
and
but
it's
one
like
of
the
them.
X-Men's like a guess who's coming to dinner, and then these two black people showed up, and they're like, oh shit!
And they both were named Bolivar. They're like, we gotta name both the kids Bolivar. That's the only fair way to do it.
I totally forgot. This is we can keep this in or not, but I want to get your reaction. If my laughter or any of my dialogue on this podcast seems stifled, I had a bit of an accent.
What? Did you whack your head?
No, I was biking down to go see the film, Deadpool. And I have a new bike. The pedals hang a little bit lower than I'm used to.
Oh.
So I'm biking and I made a right turn and it caught. I was rocking out to This Is America by Childish Gambino. I did not see it coming at all. The bike jackknifes and I just landed straight on the handlebar.
Oh, Jesus!
And it, like,
For those of you who are listening, DC just revealed a massive fucking wound across his, like, rib cage. Jesus!
it's like right on the bone.
Did you break a rib? Did
Now
you crack a
let
rib?
me not bury the lead. I went to the X-ray. I got an X-ray.
Can we make that the podcast? Anyway, sorry.
I got an X-ray last night. Everything's fine. It's just tissue damage, but it hurts. Like
Jesus.
Yesterday morning, dude, it took me 10 minutes to get out of bed because if you try to sit up, it hurts. If you try to roll over, it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, uh-oh. Like I was trying to grab like the headboard and pull myself up, and I was like, no, I'm fucked. There's no way out.
This is just a clever cover-up for the fact that you're in a fight club, isn't it?
Well, if it is, that's a shitty fucking way to get hit. Like
You're in a bats fight club where
I
you
took
get
a
to
pipe
use...
to the rib. Oh man, it
Pipes
hurts.
and bats.
But anyways, yes. If at one point you just hear me kind of wincing in pain, that's
Jesus.
why. I never can't believe I totally forgot to tell you that. I was like, I'm going to lead with that. I'm going to show. 'Cause I want to get your reaction. Anywho, Juggernaut aside.
Back to Deadpool.
Ooh, you know who I did love? My girl from Atlanta, Zazie Beetz.
Oh, she was Domino. Yeah?
She was Domino, and I loved Black Widow.
Black Widow.
That,
and
like
Brown
that, I'll
Panther.
forget. What?
Brown Panther.
That one. Anyways, but no, she was great.
She just didn't do anything though. She was just sort of there.
They kind of felt like they were trying to be like, okay, they had Valkyrie, they had Okoye, we need a
throw
black
someone in,
badass
yeah.
woman to empower women and minorities.
But even
so.
at least Valkyrie had like a backstory. She was just like, I'm lucky, hello.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends and you're like, is she gonna do anything?
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently just be like our Deus Ex Machina. She's their R2-D2.
Right,
If
yeah.
there was a situation they need to
just
get...
a little handle to stick
Literally,
at one
she
point.
just sticks her fist into a console and twists it around.
I do want to say though, I saw it on Thursday previews, pretty full theater, probably 2/3 full, and there were more laughs during my second viewing of Avengers in a half-empty theater than there were for Deadpool 2. On opening night, it was like dead. And it was clearly people are there on an opening night. They're there, they're fans, and you could sense this like tension in the theater of everyone going like, that joke didn't land. Oh, that one didn't land. Oh, that didn't land.
You know, I was honestly with it. I remember the distinct point where it dropped when he blew himself up.
Right at the
I
beginning,
was with it for the whole beginning of him going around the world murdering people. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. He's like Kill Bill, but with Deadpool. Let's do this. And then whenever they start getting down to them, like, wanting to start a family and have a kid, you're right. It was that scene where I'm like, uh-oh.
Like, why is Deadpool doing this?
What's with the token? What's with that lead token? Is that going to be a bullet that... You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, oh, God, that's going to be a thing. So the second he wakes up in the mansion and he's just Ryan Reynolds in a hoodie on the couch... That's where it really, for me, started to... the threads started to pull.
Because, like, okay, so, like, I'll give a pass to an opening scene of this psychotic character finding a degree of happiness, even though it was fucking weird to see him just hanging out with his girlfriend. But after his girlfriend is killed, who she's killed right off at the beginning, but it doesn't matter because he goes back in time and saves her during the end credits. But she's killed right off at the beginning, and then he's just like a mopey Ryan Reynolds. And you're like, wouldn't Deadpool just like have gone completely? Wouldn't that have pushed him over the edge?
It reminds me
where he would have been mad like he is in the comics.
Like one of my biggest gripes, man. The Christopher Nolan Batman is one of the worst Batman ever.
Oh, him as a Batman.
Yeah, because I've told you this before.
We've had this conversation. Yeah,
but for anyone who hasn't heard, okay, so Blue Flowers, Ra's al Ghul, Arkham Asylum, that shit happens. He's Batman. Batman Begins
for about a year.
And a year later, cops and the Joker says these cops and blah blah blah. So he's been Batman for a year. Mm-hmm. Joker goes overboard. Rachel Dawes gets murdered. Then killed. He's like, I killed those people.
Even though the Joker could have, I'm going to take the rap. Yeah.
Although we can clearly blame all this psychotic behavior on the psychopath dressed like a clown, which everyone would totally believe.
Yeah.
No, Batman for some reason. Anywho, he's not Batman for 10 years.
That's the problem. The next one should have been 2 years later of him just recovering.
So
that would have been fine.
In 11 years, he was Batman for 54 weeks. And I'm like, that is the worst Batman. That's the worst Bruce Wayne. His girlfriend, who you knew was going to get killed, gets killed. And then he's like, I can't do it. It's not worth avenging my dead parents anymore.
DC, it's even sadder than that, because it wasn't even his girlfriend.
Oh my god, right. Yeah. They kissed once.
Yeah.
And you had that theory that
he lost his virginity to Talia.
Because there's no, unless he like hooked up some like Korean hook whore while he was over like in that jail. Anywho, my point is that's how I felt about Deadpool. They killed his girl. I'm like, oh, y'all in for it now?
And then he's just moping around.
And he's sitting around like a teenager, rolling around in the chair,
trying to become an X-Man.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And I'm like wearing the jersey and shit. And I was like, no. You said X-Force.
Yeah.
You said Terry Crews. He was in the trailer.
Right. Yeah. No, they just killed them off right away.
All of that was just one giant joke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can do that, but the fuck movie?
It's subverting our expectations, like the Last Jedi.
Exactly, like the whole prison scene. I was like, what is going on?
No, I know the whole prison scene was just god awful.
It
was
felt
so
like
boring.
Them just cherry picking moments. Like we want to do the family storyline of Guardians of the Galaxy.
We want to make Deadpool relatable. It's like, no, he's not a relatable character. Like the reason we love him is how unrelatable he is.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the reason. That's why I'm now postulating for Solo next week. But everything I'm seeing for it, this kid playing Han Solo seems so lovable. But the reason we love Han Solo is that he is a sarcastic asshole. Like in real life, you wouldn't really like him. You'd be like, oh, you're just gonna like make a smirk and then like bail on us? Thanks, dude.
Every single
fucking time. Like Han Solo as a character in universe is a shithead. That's why we love him.
Yeah. Same with to an extent, Indy. Indy can never hold down a relationship. When he reaches for his gun, it's not there. He always kind of fucks up a little bit.
He's just kind of an asshole in real life, and that's why we love him. And the reason we love Deadpool is that he's such a psychotic anti-hero. And even at the end of the movie, first of all, we should just say the whole point of the film, apparently, unironically, is that this kid Fire Fist killed Cable's family. So Cable comes back in time to kill Fire Fist as a kid, like the baby Hitler killing idea of going back in time to kill him as a kid. Unironically, like that's the whole driving force of the plot.
And what's weird is that it doesn't even come up until a good 40 minutes into the movie. And it's such a strange intro. We just cut to Cable over some charred remains in the teddy bear, and I'm like, oh right, you're in.
This is Cyclops's and a clone of Jean Grey's son from the future, and apparently they've just completely or done away with that.
Now, but do you think that's a result of them bringing in Leech later on? Because it literally felt like another movie slammed into the middle of this movie.
Oh, you were
Cable? Saying, I didn't know this, but you said earlier, did they switch directors? Did they start with it, or did the studio bump them?
They bumped. It was in production, I believe, and then Tim Miller. It was creative differences that Tim Miller left for, which is the studio going, no, you're not making our fucking Marvel movie that we want.
Multiple drafts of the script by January 17, because it just felt like, again, trying to do too many things with Deadpool being the cornerstone. And I'm like, that's not you can't stabilize this character, and trying to have him being this driving force for all these story arcs is not a great idea.
Work. That's like making a movie with Jack Sparrow at the center.
Oh Jesus, right?
You know
I mean? Exactly.
But but the whole movie ends like so. Cable's come back in time to kill this kid because he grows up to kill his family. But in Deadpool, the whole drive of Deadpool's character from that moment on is to convince the kid not to screw up. And even at the end, he's like, don't kill the man that hurt you, kid. I'm going to teach you higher morals than this. And then Brown Panther hits him with the cab. But like this is the same character who but a scant 45 minutes ago just pulled a gun and started shooting when he saw the kid was being abused. Has now 180'd, even though his girlfriend's dead and he should just be on a psychotic revenge plot, is now like spewing morals like it's a PG-13 Marvel movie.
And when he puts the collar on himself at the end, he's like sacrificing himself. I'm like, Jesus, is he really going to do the whole Messiah thing?
So
like,
lame. And then Cable's motivations for saving him. So Cable it steals his coin, his memory of his girlfriend Vanessa, and then uses his one and only shot to go back in time.
Can I also point out? The second superhero movie in 3 weeks, which features Josh Brolin reversing time to resurrect a main character and change the course of events.
Yeah.
They must have been sweating when they saw fucking Infinity War come up. Like,
fuck! Do you think during production Brolin called them and was like, guys, listen, I gotta tell you.
Yeah. I resurrect. Yeah. Comes back to life. Yeah. And everything changes. Yep. Yeah. Exactly the same thing. Yeah.
But his motivations for saving Deadpool made no sense to me. Like, why he didn't give a fuck about this character leading up to that moment.
Until he walks into the apartment. Remember that one awkward scene where they all walk in and like, now we're going to start the third act of the movie. Right. You're like, oh, Lord.
But even after that, he was like annoyed with this yammering asshole Deadpool. Yeah. So for him to be like, well, I'm going to ruin my chances to ever see my family again to save this guy made no sense.
You know what else I found weird about that scene when they're all in the apartment? They didn't CGI the gold, the glowing eye.
Oh,
on
no?
Brolin.
I didn't notice
he
that.
just it was just Josh
It
Brolin.
was just Josh Brolin.
And that's the scene where he's like, "Well, you're my friend now, so we have to go to this orphanage." And I was just like, was this just added at the last minute?
yeah.
Like,
Was this a pickup?
The movie was only like an hour and 20 minutes. You're like, "Fuck, we need to like add
throw
up.
something in.
Yeah.
But the point I want to make too is that I think how this movie missed the mark is no better example than at one point Juggernaut rips Deadpool in half.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Which how great would it have been, and again, I don't want to be the guy who rewrites a movie, but how great would it have been if Deadpool had died and then his other half had generated a second Deadpool? And so, like, that whole...
would be really funny.
Right, that whole ending of him going and getting to see Vanessa, and she's like, it's not your time yet, if he'd been blasted back, and then woken up on the highway as the bottom half having resurrected.
Haven't really
thrown back the top half, being like, what the fuck? I'm back here. That would have been amazing.
Tiny little baby with adult legs.
Right. But then instead we get the most forced Cable going back in time to save his life bullshit. Where it would have been amazing. Can you imagine just they're all over his dead body and then another Deadpool walks up and it's like, that looks like it hurt. Hey guys.
Yeah, it would have
Right?
suited the character a lot more.
That would have
too.
been amazing. And that would have really broken the fourth wall because he could have turned and said, I bet you it's freaking you out that I'm a new one. But don't worry, I'm still the same Deadpool.
Right.
Like, that would have been amazing. But that feels like, again, this was such this felt like a studio mandated sequel because they realized we made a fuck ton of money. We need to set up the X-Force. You can kill off the X-Force, but you're going to resurrect them during the end credits. We're going to throw Brad Pitt in a cameo, and you're like, oh, come on. He's an invisible man, the Brad Pitt.
Yeah. I mean...
It's just so weird.
It did make... I think that's the biggest laugh I got, just because it was such a random joke. Like, I didn't see...
Just all of a sudden it was Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I did not see that joke coming. I thought they were just going to show a funny skeleton or something.
Right.
But when they flashed, like, some random celebrity's face in a very Tyler Durden subliminal-like way, I'm like, that was genius. That was hilarious.
Just all of a sudden it's... Yeah, but I don't know. It was just... I think
That made me laugh.
It made... it's hard because as soon as it was like, oh, this is just, there's no comedy here, right? Like, if it had just been a regular guy getting electrocuted, it wouldn't have been as funny. So that was reliant on it being a celebrity cameo.
That's
so
true.
that's when I was like,
Fair.
I don't know.
I grew up watching SNL. I like stupid
Celebrity
cameo
cameos.
jokes like that.
And sketches that go on way longer than they should.
Exactly.
But I think, yeah, ultimately this movie just felt like a very watered... This movie felt like if the first Deadpool never existed and Logan had been first.
Yeah,
And so they were like, oh, what else can we make an R-rated movie out of? And so they just grafted an R rating onto an already shot PG-13 interpretation of Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because he was so family-friendly. He was such a role model.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was saying cunt and smoking cigarettes. And you're like, so what
It was all over the place.
What's the tone you're going for here, guys?
Yeah, like he's trying. Like, my favorite is whenever he's like, I have to go back and save that kid. I'm like, you left him in prison.
You didn't, like, when did this... Nothing showed this motivation happening internally for your character.
He went to go see Marina Backlund?
And
Or as I like to call her, Nara.
is that what... So, to inspire him
Yeah,
to save the
he
kid?
falls into ice, and then he goes, and Nara's all like, hey, yo, it's not your time yet. You have to...
Right.
Your heart has to be in the right place.
Oh, so
and then he
he's-
realizes, like, oh, instead of having a kid, I can save that
Save
kid.
this kid.
And then it cuts to him and TJ Miller in the bar. I'm like, so you went all the way back to the city? Like, you didn't just go to the prison that's right there?
save him right
And
then
so,
and there.
like,
But
what's
also, it's
going
like,
on?
Those motivate, like, describing those... You're right, and I think I totally missed that, but describing that motivation for Deadpool is sort of like talking about how Bruce Wayne gave up crime fighting for 9 years. You're like, this doesn't really fit the character in any way.
No.
So, I don't know. It seemed like...
It felt like someone was just like, we could Peter Quill this guy,
Yes!
you know?
And it felt like they're transitioning to the idea that these R-rated movies might not last forever, so we need to get him into PG-13 shit in the future.
Which is what they... Well, now it's following suit, man. Because in my 90s, R-rated analogy's holding up. That's what happened to Die Hard. It eventually got this watered-down
PG-13,
PG-13 thing. So I think it's not going to be long before you'll start to see... And, like, they'll make jokes about how he's, like, in the X-Men movies, but he can't curse. He can't be that Deadpool anymore.
Right. They'll break the fourth wall for a second.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, I'd usually say the F word here.
Yeah,
kids, but I
exactly.
can't.
Exactly.
Or because I think the plan is for Deadpool 3 and X-Force are now in
That was a
development.
pretty good Ryan Reynolds. So it's pretty good.
I've been tweeting a lot from Space Action Heroes at Ryan Reynolds to get his attention for this podcast. So if you do end up in some bizarre twist of fate listening, I apologize that the way I'm going to describe doing an impression of you is Canadian douchebag.
I think you're a national treasure, sir.
No,
and
I do
would
too.
be honored
I do
to
too.
die by your side.
I really, I didn't like you in the Van Wilder days, but I do now.
I love waiting. Excellent work.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was
Yeah.
the wait staff.
Fucking
movie.
awesome. I love that movie.
Did that come out before or after Party Down?
I want to say it was around this, like a little bit before.
So it was just the idea was floating around of caterers and waiters.
Well, there was a huge. I mean, that was like post Kevin Smith. Like, yeah, like Office Space, that movie. A bunch of people just being like, "Look how don't you do this at work too? You just fuck around and like don't take it seriously."
Oh, Party Down. We should do a podcast about Party Down.
You know, I still haven't gone through the whole thing.
Really?
I've gotten like episode 5, and I love it. I love the
So
cast
good.
alone.
It's so good, and it has a nice little ending to it too.
Does it?
I think they got canceled, so they had to sort of scramble an ending, and the ending's great.
I gotta finish that one. Every time I sit there, I just pull apart the cast. I'm like, Jane Lynch standing next to Lizzie Kaplan after Martin Starr left the room. Right out there, you're like, this is chaos.
Did you see the episode where Martin Starr ate the weed brownie? Did you see? Did you get to that one yet? That one's amazing. I won't spoil anything because it's a good show to not have spoiled.
He's another one. I was watching Homecoming, and I love that he's
the teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm like, you came full circle. You went from a geek all the way to the teacher.
To
man.
be the teaching. Yeah,
I love it. I love that, man.
But
Martin Starr, if you're listening,
we love you, Martin Starr, and I know neither of you will be listening to this, but Ryan Reynolds, I mean, we do love you. Please tweet out our Space Action Heroes URL.
Is
we
Martin
love
Starr
you.
Canadian?
I want to say yes, but I don't. Honestly
I know he's a
know.
Buddhist, which is kind of awesome.
But Deadpool itself, yeah, I didn't. Did you laugh at all?
I'm trying to think of a moment where like I lit that. The X-Men cameo made me laugh.
I think him shooting the original Deadpool in the head made me chuckle. During the end
Oh
credits.
yeah,
I thought
that end credit scene. Again, it kind of. The reason I wanted to laugh at it, but like, yeah, I really did cheapen the
entire movie.
Why did I stay here for 2 hours if you literally just changed the events from the beginning?
Yeah,
So
and is Cable going back to see his family now because you fixed the thing?
yeah, and I like it was all about this thing only has one trip left, and then for some reason Negasonic Teenage Warhead can just fix it.
Yeah.
And you can just travel wherever you want as many times as you want. And I was
Did you notice that too? That like shitty elements from the script writing perspective just kept being noted by Deadpool, which somehow, like him saying, like, I can only use this one more time to get home, and Deadpool's like, well, that's convenient story or lazy convenient storytelling. It's like drawing attention to it
It's not
doesn't
good.
make it okay.
No, it's like working with someone who's like, and they're kind of a dick, and they're like, "I'm such an asshole." It's like it's
Right?
not funny.
Yeah.
It's not funny when you acknowledge it.
Like, or you could have just, instead of just lazily writing, pointing out a lazy writing, you could have just not written lazily.
yeah,
You know. But I noticed a lot of that in the movie. Is
maybe that's what it is. It's like if we acknowledge it, it kind of steals the thunder. We're like, yeah, we know it's bad because we
But
did.
then, was there any actual jokes in the movie too? Because every joke was just like calling someone Justin Bieber or making like a referential statement about someone's appearance or what they were doing. Were there any actual jokes?
See, the funny thing is, I'm trying to think. The first one alone, like Francis jumps to mind. # drive by. Like I could think of those little things where I'm like, that movie's sprinkled. It's perfect.
But this whole movie was that.
I'm trying to think of anything that, like, even like the fucking middle finger on the hanging
the
from the
hand?
handcuff, like little beats like that in that first one. You remember them the second you leave the theater.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, in that part. This one, I left the theater being like,
What just happened? Did I see something?
Okay.
And Colossus was really horrible because I love Colossus in the first one because he's such the role model character. Like, make sure breakfast most important meal of day.
The best part of that movie is when he pukes,
Right, because he just shoots him. He blah, throws up.
It's the funniest fucking part.
And in the second one, he's I don't know. It's like he's watered down or something. It's like, where did this friendship between Cable and Deadpool come? Or not Cable, sorry, Colossus and Deadpool
I
come
guess
from?
he's supposed to be like his Chewie.
I guess,
You
but
know,
like
his Sala.
in the first one, because it's such a fourth wall breaking thing when they're like, me and Deadpool, good friends, I go to help him. You're like, that's fair. But in this one, it's like, I've tried so hard to get you to change your ways, Deadpool. I'm going to choke you and send you to prison and not care about this mutant being tortured. You're like, what happened to your like, who are you?
Yeah.
What are you trying to convey here? Yeah. Oh, I thought of the one time I think I actually had a genuine laugh is when Deadpool got blood in his eye. And he was like, "Oh, hold on, wait."
Gross bad guy blood.
Yeah, and then he's toweling his face off, and he's like, "Scoutmaster Kevin," because it's the guy's dick in his face. I thought that was the one time I kind of chuckled.
That's pretty fucking funny.
But yeah, I do want to reiterate though that like the first one is juvenile as shit. It's meant for like teenage dudes or ladies if you have a gross sense of humor as a teenager. And it's on the level of like an Austin Powers for just pure juvenile ridiculousness, but it has so much heart to it.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell everyone involved just wanted to make a great movie and pay tribute to this character they loved.
Yeah, definitely.
This one felt like everyone was just collecting their paychecks.
Very much so.
Just sort of, yeah.
I mean, you know what? It's second album syndrome. Like every band has that, where they work 20 years writing that first album, and then this record.
They gotta get the next one out.
Hey, all right, next one's out gonna be in like what 2-3 years, and they have to take a 20 years worth of experience and match it in 4.
And just
So
get
that's
it out.
you know, this one they were like, we have to strike while the iron's hot. We just lost Hugh. He's not doing this anymore.
Right.
So let's go. Let's get this guy going.
I was really hoping it would bomb to send the message of like, yeah, when you water down your R-rated movies, we're not going to acknowledge that. It's like the biggest R-rated opening now. It beat the first Deadpool. It's huge. And hopefully, like, again, I don't want to hope ill will on anyone, but the only way to send a message when you fuck up a movie is to not make money.
Right.
And maybe the second week it'll have a big drop off, but it's opened huge.
It's going well. How's it doing internationally?
Really good. Because it cost, I think they got an extra $15 million to make it, and that was sort of like
Gotcha.
the studios. It felt like, I don't know, I don't have access to behind the scenes conversations with these people, and making ofs are now puff pieces to sell product, so we'll never know for sure, but it really did feel like, just with the loss of the original director, Tim Miller,
right,
it really did feel like the studio went, we need to make a franchise out of this.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like that movie with a few edits could have been PG-13. Like, everything felt like, you know what it felt like? Indiana Jones 4, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, was a PG movie, but they were like, well, we can't really, we invented the PG-13 rating,
right,
the Temple of Doom. We can't release a PG movie, PG indie movie, especially after all the ill will from the prequel movies being PG and crappy. So there's like 2 moments in it where a character just goes, like, forcibly says the word shit. And you're like, oh, so they just stuck those in there to give it the PG-13. It's so forced. It's so awkward. Yeah. Because there's no violence, really. There's no blood. There's no...
Just have Kate Blanchett shoot a guy.
No,
Just
yeah,
one.
But
that's all you would need.
No, everything. There's no... I don't think there's a drop of blood in the whole movie, aside from, like, a little wound on Indy's head.
I've only seen that movie once.
It's god-awful.
I don't think I could do it again.
No, don't do it. It's such a waste of everything. But that's what this movie felt like. It felt like given the right title shift, it could have been easily turned into a PG-13.
Right. All the edgy content was really
sort
forced.
of really forced in there.
Yeah, I think I like the wood chipper scene, stuff like that.
Well, that was when because I know I bitch about editing a lot, but that wood chipper scene is when I really started complaining about the John Wick guy, because it's like, first of all, you set up a character like the guy with the mustache with no powers. You assume he's going to die right away, but then you go, oh, it's a Deadpool movie, so he might end up being like the hero at the end to like flip our expectations. And then they do kill him right away, but it's done so quick. It's like a tracking shot of him walking over to the wood chipper, reverse shot, his arm's burnt off, cut to Deadpool doing an over the top, like, slapping his face from the first movie. And you're like, did that, okay. So it's just done now. It's just over. That was cut to move the scene forward and not for the comedy of the scene. Probably 5 minutes.
Like from the interviews to them all dying. It's
like,
just
not even.
It's like a 5-minute joke.
It's just one long joke. But I don't know. Like that was like that. It wasn't cut for comedy in any way, shape, or form. It was cut for action.
Right.
So it followed the events of this guy running over and trying to save him and getting his arm melted off. But it needed the setup of like, he's going to be super heroic, and we're actually kind of thinking he is going to be the hero, but then no, he dies right away.
Right.
And it could have like flipped it 4 or 5 times your expectations.
Totally.
But instead it just barreled through it like it's fucking John
Just
Wick
trying
3.
to get to the punchline.
Yeah. And the punchline was Deadpool just doing the same face from the first
like
one.
Kevin McAllister, if you will.
Yeah. And which also felt so forced. You're like, what?
Because it was in the first one, you see. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's about it. I don't know what else I could say about it.
Yeah, I don't know. If you loved it, I think this was Deadpool with the Marvel Studios feel.
I felt like, Deadpool Ultron.
Yeah.
Age of Deadpool.
It did feel like Deadpool Age of Ultron. It felt very
Deadpool
safe.
Dark World.
Yeah, Deadpool
Dark
the dark pool. It felt safe. It felt mechanical. It didn't feel like there was a whole lot of love behind it. It felt like there's probably a lot of arguments behind it.
The perfect analogy visually that I could think of is Deadpool wearing that X-Men jersey, pretending to be all preppy. Like, I want to be a team player, and I'm like, yep, this kind of stands for the whole movie.
This is where this is going, huh?
He's just slipping, and he's got, like, the sword sticking out from under the jersey. It's not even on properly.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what this kind of feels like. You didn't really adjust this character for this role, but you're just forcing him into this vehicle because you want him to be an X-Men.
Right.
You want him to be part of the team.
You want X-Force, you want Deadpool 3, you want Deadpool 4.
Yeah.
And because
maybe that was the point of that scene, Carson. Maybe that was what they were trying to say.
I think that's exactly what they were trying to say. But I don't know. There was two directions he could have gone after Deadpool 1. Crazier, more batshit comic accurate Deadpool, or more audience friendly, watered down Deadpool. They took the audience friendly route.
Now I'm
because very disappointing.
You know what would have been great if the movie ended with him again just blowing a dude's head off.
Yeah.
And he goes back to just being Deadpool.
Just back to being Deadpool.
Because that would at least have given the movie an arc of being like, we tried to push him into this whole team players
But
thing.
Deadpool's not going to do that.
And it all went to hell. Everybody died violently, so he's just going to stay the same psychopath who shot Francis right between the eyes at the end of the last movie.
But it also, like, I want to know who wrote, if there were different writers for this one and the second one.
That's what I was wondering.
Just because it felt like they were trying, they didn't know what to do with the character. Like, I remember I tweeted through Space Action Heroes at Ryan Reynolds being like, Deadpool 3, if the deal goes through with Fox, maybe do a Deadpool kills the MCU, one of the most famous Deadpool plotlines, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. How great it would be if just an hour and a half of Deadpool going from character to character and murdering them. But they seemed so reliant on creating a traditional hero's journey structure for this movie.
Right.
That goes against everything that Deadpool stands for.
Yeah.
That I could never see that happening now. It would be like, no, Deadpool needs to learn how to be a father, and the next one he needs to learn how to be a team player.
You know what the funny thing is?
Work together, Deadpool. Like, that's the direction they're going, and that really sucks.
He seems to... Reynolds wrote some of this one.
Oh, he got credit because he improv'd a bunch of...
Oh, that makes sense.
The quips. So
Okay,
they gave him writing credit on this, at least as far as I know.
Let's see. So the writers of the first one, Rhett Reese, Paul Warnick. Yeah, same dudes.
Same dudes. So I guess, I don't know, but then again, we don't know, and we'll never know, because making ofs are watered down trash now. We'll never know if the studio came in and we're like, yeah, you guys need to make this more traditional. Like, as soon as Ryan Reynolds in the interview circuit started saying it was about family, I was like, oh no. Like, this is going to be trouble, because The Last Jedi was all about family, too. Yeah. It's like, there's two go-tos. If you don't really know what to do with a superhero character, you either make the movie about learning to work as a team, or family.
Yeah.
Those are the two tentpoles.
That's true. Well, now I'm worried, because Tim Miller's off doing Terminator.
Ugh, who cares about the new Terminator?
But that's what I mean. That kind of seems like... That's a job you saddle somebody with.
Maybe he needed the money from Deadpool and then got kicked out. So he's like, oh, I'll take whatever.
Yeah, like, and because this is the one they're bringing back Sarah Connor. And,
right.
Yeah, this is like
James Cameron will gush about it the way he gushed about the last one.
It's just, what did he say about Genesis? It was like, it's the best. And the clip went infamous where he's like, it's like the best Terminator
ever. Yeah,
and then it'd be followed up with just clips from the movie.
Are they? I thought that Genesis, Terminator Genesis. I thought it did well enough overseas that they were doing a sequel to it.
Oh yeah,
but
no. I think that was the plan, but the reviews maybe the reviews were just so shit, or maybe James Cameron was like,
no, we need to reboot for a fourth time.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
How many reboots is that? Because it's Terminator 1 and 2 are one movie. Terminator 3 is a bit of a reboot because they're still doing the dealing with the repercussions of the time travel from the first two movies, and Terminator 3 came out like 10 years later, so it's a soft reboot. Terminator 4 is a full hard reboot set in the future.
Yeah.
Terminator 5 is a full hard reboot with Daenerys Targaryen in it.
Okay, that's okay.
And now Terminator 6 will be another full hard reboot, I guess.
It's just like, all I can hear is the paddles and clear! Yeah. It won't come back! Keep trying!
It's now become Terminator Black Mirror, where it's just going to be like parallel universe stories of all these Terminator machines.
And Arnold just keeps getting creepier and creepier looking in every iteration.
Do you remember they gave him all the expositional dialogue in the last one, so he was just muttering his way through all these scientific terms, and you're like, why would you give it to the barely speakable English Austrian?
Because Khaleesi doesn't know how to act. Oh, I'm just digging holes. I'm sorry. I'm just digging holes.
I will fully support that. A lot of the Game of Thrones actors outside of Game of Thrones are the worst. Jon Snow, when he was in that goddamn Pompeii, and the video game movie, the Silent Hills.
Okay.
He is just so bad. He is so bad.
Well, it's very soap opera like.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
so
It's like getting the Days of Our Lives people to move on to other things. Even like as much as I love Peter Dinklage, he's not an amazing actor.
Well, on the second, I went back and saw Infinity War, and Dinklage really stood out. His performance, because like he's doing one of these voices, which I didn't notice the first time.
He's doing his really bad British accent from Game of Thrones. He is talking with the British accent.
Oh my god, he's not English.
No, he's American.
He's totally doing a Tyrion.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he is.
He was just big Tyrion.
Yeah, it really stuck out. Like that it was the one. That's what killing you means. I was just like, I
did chuckle at that line, but I chuckled at the writing of that line more than the delivery of the line.
Exactly, like his awkwardness was kind of like, okay,
that's what killing you means.
It was almost like they were like, that was so off-putting. That's the one we're using. Like, this guy's so vexed by Thor. He's like, I don't understand how you think.
This deal. Did I tell you that when I first saw the movie in 3D, I didn't realize that his hands were melted, that Peter Dinklage's hands were melted? It was
my hands.
Yeah, because I missed that line. It was so much happening so quickly, and the 3D conversion for that movie was such garbage. It was clear they
that whole scene's harder enough to see in regular.
Right, at least in Canada. I don't know. I can't speak to the States, but in Canada, for the first time in forever, they offered up just as many 2D screenings as 3D screenings.
Oh wow! Yeah, I'm starting to see more of them.
But so I'm wondering if maybe they were like, we spent a lot of money on Infinity War. We can't really afford the extra $50 million to properly convert this, so let's just offer half of the screenings. Because the 3D was garbage to the point where when I saw it second time, I was like, oh, his hands are melted.
Did you go regular the second time?
I saw it IMAX the second time, which IMAX 2D.
How'd your opinions change the second time?
I did enjoy it more, I think. Yeah. I don't know. I think like we really ripped on it in our podcast. Yeah. But I still give it a 3.5, 4 out of 5. Like, it's still a fun movie.
When I re-listened to it, I really felt like we were shitting its mouth. I'm like, no. I'm like, I mean, it feels like the Saturday morning cartoon crossover that I've been waiting for. Like, next week on that Batman the Animated Series, Superman's going to show up in Martian Manhunter. Right. Like, fuck!
Wonder Woman's coming up.
Exactly, and then all of a sudden there's a Justice League movie. That's what this felt like, just an insane crossover, but over 18 movies. So, like, that alone is noteworthy.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I went in with the second time watching it from Thanos' perspective, just
because it's just the Thanos movie.
Yeah, that's his origin story movie. He's the main character, and like we don't really give a shit what happens to Peter, what his day was going on.
Because we've already seen 18 films worth of their stuff, so they're just stand-ins.
They're just like pins. Yeah. He's a bowling ball, and he's like, I'm gonna get a strike, and then the credits roll, he does it. You're like, holy fuck! Like he killed half the universe, and those guys had no chance.
No,
and I kind of like it for that, just like this apocalyptic period at the end of this long sentence, you know?
And as we said in the podcast, my biggest complaint was the pacing of the last 5 minutes.
The middle. Well, also the middle, I started to fall asleep. The guy behind me started to fall asleep too. He started snoring. Like that that whole middle chunk really starts to lull until they start with they start picking up with the editing. There's a Battle of Wakanda and them starting the Dying Star, and it kind of starts. You're like, oh, we're gearing up to something again. Finally.
I do just want to say, for anyone listening to us for the first time, it's more fun to pick out the flaws than to just gush about how great shit is.
Yeah.
That's what every other video on YouTube is for. It's just a gush about shit because you're hoping to get to sign a deal with Disney.
And just say because I have nitpicks doesn't mean I don't fucking love it. Like, listen, let me put it this way. I played countless hours of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You know how many stupid fucking following missions I had to do where I had to stay in the periphery of a character that I fucking hated?
Yep.
I still played that game until my eyes bled.
Oh, me too.
I love it.
I love that game. We should do an Assassin's Creed podcast or something.
I've really only done just Black Flag, but
I did the original Black Flag and then the new one. The Ancient Egypt one. It looks cool. Amazing.
It looks really cool.
So good.
But yeah, no, just for the Infinity War, like pick out flaws in these things, but I still love them. I love these things. God damn it! Otherwise, I wouldn't pay out the nose to see them every fucking time.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's like you can criticize McDonald's for serving shitty food and still enjoy a McChicken. You know what I mean? Like these movies are Mick movies. They're Mick Marvel, Mick Disney, Mick movies. Sometimes a McChicken is the greatest thing. It's 2 a.m. Yes. You're fucking drunk. You want a McChicken. And I think these movies fall into that category pretty accurately.
Exactly. I got some Burger King yesterday. It was again, it hit a crack. Like nothing just hits that spot perfectly. That's what these are for, man. Whenever I see fucking Thanos snap Loki's neck, I'm like, I'm not going to see that anywhere else. Thank you.
That was delicious. Even though, I thought of something funny about that scene though, because I loved that he killed Loki right away, but at the same time, I did have a flashback to Jurassic Park 3. of being like, well, we got a new dinosaur. We need to show it's the best dinosaur. How do we do that? I don't know. Have it kill the T-Rex in the first 5 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Like, all right, that'll show the audience that he's more badass than a T-Rex.
Piss off 2/3 of the audience who wanted to see the T-Rex.
This has been proven to be basically a giant Dimetrodon and looked nothing like that in reality. Yeah, let's just have him kill the T-Rex. Sure, why not? Fuck it. That's what it kind of felt like to me. The Thanos, like, oh look, he just killed the most popular villain. I guess he's the most popular villain now.
Right.
But it worked better in Marvel because it wasn't as obvious. Because the story, it was no other way out for Loki. Whereas in Jurassic Park 3, it was just like, let's just have him fight. I don't fucking know.
No, it feels earned in Infinity War because like they've been kind of foreshadowing that, like, ever since that. Remember the Elder Dude? You think you know pain? And
yeah.
It's kind of been insinuating that Loki fucking failed Thanos in the Avengers. Yeah. He's gonna pay his dues. He's gonna pay it.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that about wraps it up. I think we veered off into some good old fashioned Infinity War,
into some Marvel-less territory.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. We're gonna be back next week with Solo, and then we're gonna maybe take a little bit of time off before Jurassic World, but we might have a few things to pepper out between those two.
Something
we'll see.
in the pipeline, maybe a little bit of Barry.
A little bit of HBO's Barry. Look forward to that in about 2 weeks.
If you haven't watched it, watch the shit out of it.
Watch the shit out of that show. It's great.
I finished it like 2 nights ago.
It's really good. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And check out spaceactionheroes.com. As always, please come check out our shit.
All right, guys.
That's it for us.
Have a good week.
Bye.